Town Council May 26th meeting to order. I welcome everyone tonight. I hope y'all brought your umbrellas. We probably will need them before we get out of here. We'll move on to the calendar. On the calendar, we got a ribbon cutting coming up for the historic Main Street mural at 6 p.m. on on Friday, June the 5th. And then also on June the 5th, we've got First Friday, the Main Street, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then our next regular scheduled meeting is Tuesday, June the 9th. Okay. Move on to public comment. Town clerk, do we have any public comment tonight? Okay. Lord's been good to us, ain't he? Okay, we move on to additions and deletions to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda as written?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to remove item 2B from the consent agenda and move it to the regular agenda.
2B,
Yes, sir.
and you're moving it to the regular agenda?
Yes, sir. To item 3.
Oh, it'll be at item 3. Okay. All right, I'll need a motion in that order.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, show like sign. Okay,
Yes, Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
okay.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okay, we'll move right along. We've got a public hearing.
Actually, I think we're going to do item 2B first.
You want to do B first?
Yeah, this should be
Okay.
fairly quick.
All right.
Alex.
Who's speaking on that behalf? Who's, oh, okay, Alex. All right, I need a motion to open this public hearing.
It's not a public hearing.
Consider,
It's a call for.
oh, it's a call.
It's a call for a public hearing. Just a quick note before we begin. I am pulling it, the Rural Conservation District off consent.
Okay.
I'll say plainly what's bothering me. Staff and the planning board have rolled 3 genuinely different proposals into a single ask. I don't think that's fair to this council or to the public. The Rural Conservation District is one conversation. A town-wide reduction in special use permit density is a separate conversation, and a 45-foot height cap across all low-density districts is a third conversation, and a significant one at that. Each of these deserves to be argued on their own terms, to stand up or fall down on their own merits, not carried along by whichever piece happens to have the most support that night. Also, I don't think the public had ample time to comment on those 2 additional things. What I'd like to do going is pretty straightforward. I call for a public hearing on the Rural Conservation District as it's been proposed, and send the other 2 items back to the planning board to come forward as their own standalone text amendments. Staff has already indicated that's a workaround, and I think that's what the action we should take.
Okay, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Um,
You don't even probably have to comment on it.
I would like to ask one question of clarification,
Yes.
which is that I believe there's one additional part of it, which is the symbology changes to the table of uses table. Would you like to send that back to the
Send
planning
it
board as
back
well?
to them.
Okay.
Yes. I think the rural conservation should be held all by itself,
Mhm.
right? They took 3 totally different things and combined them into one. And I don't particularly like that. And you can convey that to them as well.
Okay, I'll need a second.
Second.
Second by Julia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okay,
right.
thanks, Alex.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
All right, we move on to the actual public hearing. The public hearing is to consider amendments to the conditional district for Chick-fil-A restaurant and land development standards, LSD sections 15.2.5D. Okay.
Do I need to make a motion to open public comment, public hearing?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
I got a motion to open.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like so. Okay, open.
Good evening, Olga Grumman, Assistant Development Services Director. The subject property at 45 Barber Boulevard is within corporate limits of the town of Waynesville and Ross Avenue Regional Center Conditional District. This is a side of the drive-through Chick-fil-A restaurant. The original conditional district for Ingles Market that included grocery store, iMarket, gas station, and a site for the drive-through restaurant was approved in 2011. On October 19, 2015, the plan was modified to relocate the drive-through restaurant building from the center of the parcel to the southeastern side, where it is located now, in order to increase the parking on site. The Chick-fil-A restaurant was built in 2016. On April 20th, 2026, the Planning Board held a public hearing to consider the following amendments to the existing conditional district. There are 3 proposed changes. First change is the addition of a second drive-through lane. The addition of a second drive-through lane along the southeastern side of the building and expansion of the existing drive-through lane currently on site. It would result in 2 ordering and order fulfillment lanes in the drive-through area and will expedite the guest's experience getting the food and departure from site. And you can see the proposed site plan on your screens, and it's also in your agenda packet. The second change is the sidewalk, curb, and gutter and retaining wall. Addition of a second drive-through lane at the pickup window side of the building will require removal of the sidewalk and some landscaping along this side of the building. And it will also require the installation of the retaining wall and some guardrails for NCDOT vehicle impact guardrail compliance. The third change is landscaping. Addition of the lane will also result in the elimination of existing landscaping, specifically 5 maple trees and various ornamental shrubs along this portion of the property, the southeastern portion. There is an attached landscaping plan, and the applicant proposes to replace most of the landscaping and return the site to as close to existing conditions as possible. At the plan, since then, there are a few things that are changed, and the applicant will elaborate on additional things that they would like to propose, additional modifications. But at the time of the planning board hearing, the planning board, with information they had, recommended the 2 conditions. First, payment in lieu to the town for removal of the sidewalk along the southeastern portion of the property, and work with the town staff and replace the landscaping that is to be removed along that side. Now, again, there we have new information, and as of today, we have received the updated contract and agreement, and the applicant can elaborate more on that. This agreement is for the Chick-fil-A to relocate the sidewalk that they are destroying for the drive-through lane to the front of the Home Trust Bank property. And this sidewalk would connect to the Ross Avenue sidewalk eventually, and to the sidewalk that starts at the iMarket at the gas station. So that was the preferred location for the sidewalk based on staff recommendations to begin with, just to fill the sidewalk gap instead of just the payment in lieu. Again, the applicant will elaborate more on the easement. So this agreement is the easement agreement for Ingles Markets, the owner of the property, and that portion of the bank's secondary frontage, if you will, for the sidewalk construction over there. With that being said, for zoning compliance, the property lies within Ross Avenue Regional Center Conditional District. It has the following purpose and intent in the ordinance. It's a gateway to the community and often defines the first image a visitor has when entering the town. It's a setting for high-intensity land uses addressing the needs of Waynesville community and the visitors. It supports dense development options due to ample infrastructure in place and the proximity to downtown. The standards for future development along this corridor will be important to this transformation, incorporating principles to manage access along Ross Avenue. The development of an accessway connecting to rear portions of lot fronting on Ross Avenue will further reduce traffic congestion. So one of the goals is to reduce traffic congestions and promote the pedestrian realm. And development shall be sensitive to the appearance of the corridor. At the planning board hearing, there were a lot of discussions and sentiments about the corridor, and that it does serve as a first gateway, the first appearance when many visitors and residents enter the town. As for the consistency with the 2035 comprehensive land use plan, The planning board found that the modifications are consistent with goals 1 and 5 of the comp plan, specifically goal 1, to continue to promote smart growth principles in land use planning and zoning, and goal 5, to create opportunities for a sustainable economy and to promote the growth of existing local businesses in Waynesville's maker economy. So this concludes the staff report in summary, and we do have a developers team, so I'd like to defer to developer to give the council the updates on their proposed changes.
And I'll have questions for you.
Yes,
after.
absolutely.
Afterwards.
Okay.
Good evening, Council. I appreciate you taking the time to hear our requests. So this location, Waynesville, opened December 8th of 2016. So this restaurant is 9.5 years old. And so as Olga mentioned, when we initially built this location, the restaurant at the time, we typically would build those in what we would call a center set formation, which as we build them today, this would be much more typical of what we would build with a full 2 lanes of isolated drive-through around the exterior of the building in order to deconflict dine-in guests from drive-through guests. And so during the time that we built this location, the dine-in traffic was significantly heavier than it is today. Because of our positioning during COVID, from the investments we've made from a technology perspective and drive-through infrastructure perspective, we were able to take advantage of an unexpected opportunity. And what our guests have told us is that from a value perspective and a convenience perspective, drive-through is primarily where they desire to receive their meals. So this particular location, since it opened 10 years ago, has experienced double-digit sales increases almost every year since it opened. And so from the time it opened until today, the volume has over doubled from what we anticipated when we built it 10 years ago. So as you see what we have here, today there's a single lane of meal fulfillment. Our proposal is that we would be able to produce a second lane of meal fulfillment in conjunction with a drive-through door, which allows us to deliver meals upstream and meet some of the unmet demand that we have presently with the built environment. So this particular location, due to the volume, we have identified this location as needing the innovations that we've proposed. And so as we look at it today from a traffic perspective and a guest safety and team member safety perspective, we want to ensure that we can provide the right environment for guests to navigate this site effectively, as well as ensure that team members are able to deliver to the demand of guests that we have. And so as Russ Avenue, as you know, the DOT taking, it's going to widen those roads and there's going to be additional traffic count on top of what is already present today. And so our concern is that we'll not be able to meet the current demand of the Waynesville community with the built environment we have today. And we certainly don't feel positioned well to be able to do that in the future with the widening of Rust Avenue. And so in order to match, again, the current demand that he has and the future demand that we anticipate, we propose this implementation of a drive-through door and a second lane of meal fulfillment. So what the drive-through door allows team members to do, and with this widening, gives them a safe area, 2 feet and 3 feet respectively, of striping lane with full lanes for them to be able to deliver meals. And so with what we have today with a single lane of meal fulfillment, if there is a vehicle you're waiting on a meal to be delivered for, if you're holding on some food item, it backs the entire drive-through up. What this formation allows us to do is to deliver meals upstream and to both lanes. And so you can continue to move vehicles through the drive-through lane at a much more effective rate. And so there are I believe three main concerns. And so item one would be the sidewalk, which as Olga mentioned, we've come to terms with Ingalls and with Home Trust Bank and have a signed legal document that states that we'll build this sidewalk per city staff's guidance in terms of permitting, but Chick-fil-A will build that sidewalk. And then also, I don't know if we could go to that first plan, the landscape plan. What we had proposed at the last hearing was that we would remove those trees, and our landscaping plan didn't adequately represent what we could do on site relative to trees. So what we've proposed here, as you can see along that southeast corner, you'll see where those 5 trees have come out. In place of those, we propose planting 2 maple trees there, and then a redbud tree on the corner, and then 4 oak trees within the remainder of the property, which gets us to 7 trees. So we have a 5-tree delta of what we would take out, and then 7 trees would be proposed to go back in. Chick-fil-A is prepared to, if it pleased the board, to plant larger caliber trees, recognizing that these trees are 10 years old and are much more mature than what typically would be planted. And that in conjunction with, obviously with the North Carolina DOT taking, there's a number of trees that have been removed along the right of way, which it appears from me visiting today that they're getting ready to execute all of the work up and down Russ Avenue. So they've got equipment there and have already started to demolish the sidewalk along Russ Avenue adjacent to our site. And so this would be the proposal relative to plantings. We also, we recognize, at least from a Chick-fil-A perspective, that the guest experience starts as you pull on the lot. And so from a landscaping perspective, and recognize this is a corridor into the mountains, we want to make sure that our site is the best landscape site in this corridor. And so I don't know if you could go to that next exhibit. So this is a rendering of what we would propose to attempt to soften this corner relative to the NCDOT guardrail. So that guardrail is there, you can see in this image, but we would propose this retaining wall as well as a fence with some plantings there to soften this curb and try to give it a much better appeal where you're not looking at a DOT metal guardrail there at the edge of the corner. So that's our intent, is to beautify to the extent we can on our site, recognizing that we've been impacted and burdened by the NCDO taking. So to the extent we're able, this is what we would be willing to propose as far as the Chick-fil-A site's concerned. Would love to answer any questions you have about that.
Might want to stay there, but I'll ask Olga.
No, for sure.
Can we go back to the landscaping? What is the current standard on there for the spacing of canopy trees?
And
Is
Russ,
it every 40 feet, 20 feet?
let me double check.
Okay. It's either 40 or 50.
So in Ross Avenue, in Regional Center, 1 canopy tree for every 50 feet of street frontage, maximum spacing of 50 feet on center.
50 feet on center. Does this new proposal meet that requirement?
The new proposal, it will in all places except the
Except for,
southeastern corner of the property where the trees will be missing.
so it does, what's the distance between the 2 trees at the drive-through area? I can't see the distance.
We can measure the property on the GIS.
Is that the two?
The tree. Yeah, it says it on here, but it's so small I cannot read it. Can you zoom in on that, Luke? There you go. There's a spacing on the drawing at the bottom, I believe.
Drag up, Luke,
Drag it
drag
up.
up.
Just drag it up.
You have to do it on the slide bar on the right hand side. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there we go.
That's 223 feet.
End to end, so.
It's safe to say that's not 50 feet.
It's not.
It's more than 50 feet. Okay. During the original proposal for this site, were they provided a variance for the location of the building?
There was a modification, not during the original. So the original plan was, a conditional district was approved in 2011. In 2015, the project came back to modify the plan, and they did ask to move the building from the center to the southeastern corner to increase the on-site parking. And in your agenda packet, you can see the original location on the building as proposed. In one of the exhibits, you have that. It's right in the center of of the lot. So you can see it on one of those exhibits, it's right in the center.
My concern with this approval of granted as proposed would signal to the next applicant who comes before this council on Russ Avenue or South Main or any other gateway corridors is first, how many other conditional district properties along our gateway corridors have similar site configurations, meaning sidewalk frontage, mature canopy, and an existing operator who could conceivably seek a comparable amendment for operational expansion? Second, if council approves this amendment, on what grounds would staff or council deny a future applicant who proposes a substantive similar trade, removing sidewalk or moving the sidewalk and mature trees for a gateway corridor in exchange for a replacement planting? Put differently, what facts on this site distinguish it from a hypothetical next case, such as the next case could be decided differently? Third, the answer is that each conditional district amendment is evaluated on its own merits. I'd ask staff to walk us through which specific finding in tonight's proposal staff would expect to apply to future cases and which would not. That's a lot to ask you.
That is, the last one, the finding of this case, the merit of this case could be that the proposed sidewalk location is where originally suggested by staff along the second frontage of the bank's property, Home Trust Bank along Barber Boulevard. And that would fill a sidewalk gap, if you will, because there is a gap between Ross Avenue sidewalk and the I Market. So that would be the merit in this case to locate it, because this gap, once filled, would serve more properties and more stores for somebody walking off Ross Avenue. So that could be the merit.
What is the reasoning for allowing less canopy trees along one side? I understand the frontage of Russ Avenue, but along the side going up to.
Question in that?
Yes.
So, just so I'm clear from a classification perspective. So as I understand it, the street, Russ Avenue is a street. Is this access drive into the Ingalls classified as a street, and does it have the same requirements relative to trees?
For all borders, I believe it does.
It's a street frontage, yeah.
Yes,
So
okay.
it's a roadway frontage, yeah. And also it's a part of conditional district, as a part of conditional district, a site as approved stands.
Okay.
For the landscaping question, the applicant proposed additional trees inside of the perimeter, and it's not the same as the road frontage. Inside of the perimeter, usually there shouldn't be any parking space more than 40 feet away from the tree. So they're definitely exceeding
They
that,
exceed that.
but it is a different spot. It is not a road frontage.
Olga, can you, I want to drill into the statement, consistency statements with the 2035 plan.
Mhm.
You list two statements, two goals that we could find that this amendment is consistent with or inconsistent with. And specifically, the question is about goal 5,
Mhm.
which was create opportunities for a sustainable economy, promote growth of existing local businesses in Waynesville's maker economy. Just a quick Google search. When I see maker economy, Chick-fil-A is not what I think of. And not that there's anything wrong with Chick-fil-A, and believe me, I love Chick-fil-A. I spend a whole lot of time in your drive-through. The question is just a quick search on what the definition of a maker economy would be, is an economic sector made up of individuals and small businesses that create, craft, and design or manufacture goods locally, often emphasizing entrepreneurship, creativity, and community identity. Now, my question is, if that is the definition of a maker economy? What is our obligation? Because to me, if we define a maker economy like I just read, that's clearly not what's being shown in Goal 5. If that is the case, would that require us to vote this request down?
I do not believe that council under any obligation to interpret or agree with the planning board. They are your recommending body, so this is up to the council to agree if that goal is matching the project or not.
Okay, and so we are under, I guess what I'm getting at is we are under no obligation to find that the request is consistent with the 2035 plan on either, both, or none of those recommendations. Is
Correct.
that-
That is why staff report said consistent/inconsistent.
Okay, so what if we find the request is inconsistent with one or more of those goals?
So you could two options or two outcomes are possible. If you find it inconsistent, but you still would like to approve the amendment, you can amend the comprehensive plan by saying this amendment is inconsistent, but by voting yes, we're going to amend the plan. Or that second option is because it's inconsistent, you can deny the project.
Okay.
Is that all the questions you have, John?
Yeah.
Julia, you have any questions?
Just a couple of concerns. Number one is the loss of that sidewalk. Russ Avenue is going to be a walkable bike area and all that, and we're going to lose an extra sidewalk that we've had the luxury of having all this time. I'm concerned about the loss of the foliage, the trees and all that through there, and I've got major concerns about this. So,
There was something about those 5 trees while they were planted there. I don't know where that goes back to. Remember something about those trees? It was-
Seem to
there was a
remember
reason.
that was Henry Ford.
Yeah, Henry Ford or something had something to do with that, planting of that, having those trees put there.
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher, is that your last name, sir?
Fletcher.
Fletcher, oh, I apologize. So when you think about a maker's economy, I would just offer to you, to your first point, like, I'm in Atlanta. I'm not the one running the business here. Robert, who's with us here, he is here as an entrepreneur. The business is his, right? In terms of his team members that he employs, he serves this community. So when you talk about entrepreneurship, like that's Robert. That's what he does. And so he has been here in this community for 10 years, growing a brand, growing a business, marketing, trying to be innovative, trying to do all the things that you mentioned that a maker's economy does. So Chick-fil-A Inc. is not the representative of this community. So that is what Robert does. So we manage the asset and we give Robert the the tools that he needs to run his business, but we don't own the business. It's not Chick-fil-A Inc. that's running it. This is fully him in the community with his team. He's running creative marketing plans. As a matter of fact, I believe you had minis for dinner last night, right? So he's got a number of different creative things that he's doing to serve the community. So I would just offer that interpretation of a maker's economy is that this is not Chick-fil-A Inc. It's not a corporation that's here running this business. It's Robert's business. We're just trying to make sure he has the tools that he needs to do it successfully. And Miss, I'm sorry, I can't see that far, but so relative to your comment of losing the sidewalk, so just to be clear, we're not losing the sidewalk. We're going to move this sidewalk over to the Home Trust, which better actually aligns with the shopping center. And as I understand it from looking at the residential density here, is actually closer to where the residents are if they were choosing to walk Russ Avenue. That would actually be slightly closer for them to get into the development. So in terms of walkability and guest or community access to the center, I believe that the plan that we've shared to move that sidewalk to the Home Trust Bank site should actually improve that scenario and put it in a much easier spot for guests to get
well, I
into.
appreciate that comment, but
Yes,
I
ma'am.
actually disagree because I'm up and down. You live in Atlanta.
Mhm.
We live here. We watch traffic going up and down that consistently and own businesses on that road. So that loss of that road, so many people travel down through there from Ingalls, from the market, from the gas station, all through there. So yeah, it would be a significant loss to the citizens that actually walk our
Yes, ma'am.
community.
Well, we're rebuilding the sidewalk though, so I just want to be clear that
But you're moving it. It won't
we're
be where it
moving.
is now.
Yes, ma'am, but you said we're losing it, so I just want to be clear. We're not losing, we're relocating the sidewalks. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what we're actually doing here.
You mentioned in your comments or it might have been Olga, about, no, I think it was you. You talked about one of the reasons why y'all are proposing this is essentially to be able to handle additional traffic that seems to be coming.
Yes, sir.
And the question becomes is what evidence of that are you relying on? Have there been studies that predict additional traffic flow? And here's where I'm going with this.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned I've spent a lot of time in your.
So you've seen the volumes that's there in
Okay.
the drive-through
And-
queues. Yes,
and
sir.
I would say that it is, I've been there middle of lunch hour, and, you know, there are cars, but it's not crazy. I mean, one of the things I've always been impressed with is how y'all move cars through that efficiently, particularly given the volume of cars.
Yes, sir.
And if in other words, there are trade-offs with this request. For example, we're talking about removing street trees. We're relocating the sidewalk infrastructure. We're increasing impervious surface. And we're effectively further prioritizing vehicle traffic in a corridor where our own plans talk about the importance, appearance of streetscape, sidewalks, and long-term character. And so I have not, and so if those are the trade-offs, help me understand why the public is served by granting this request.
I think that's a fair question. I would offer to you that, one, I recognize that obviously if we could leave those trees in the spot that they are, we absolutely would do it. And if there were another solution to be able to solve the volume, the demand, right? Like Chick-fil-A, obviously, we've been very successful, right? We're very blessed to have the business that we have because of men and women like Robert that have dedicated and live in these communities and build these businesses. So I would tell you that from a demand perspective, we can measure effectively every system within the restaurant. And so so the reason we're here is because we recognize that there is unmet demand at this location. There's a number of guests, we survey guests, there's a number of them within the last few, basically a CEM score is what we would call it. And there's a number of folks that have stated, hey, due to the amount of traffic, I have skipped visits to come to this location in the last 90 days. And so that's over 10% of folks that have been surveyed have said, hey, I've skipped a visit in the last 90 days because of the perceived or otherwise traffic concerns on the site. And so
Can you distinguish between the traffic of the drive-through or traffic of Russ Avenue that's being worked on?
these would have been individuals that dined in with us and filled out a survey. So they at some point would have needed to, so it's the question is asked in such a manner that's
You get a
related
lot
to,
of complaints about Russ Avenue traffic right now.
I'm
And
sure.
that's being worked on. So would the completion of the Russ Avenue project alleviate some of their concerns about traffic?
Potentially about concerns on Russ Avenue, but in my professional opinion, and I have done over 100 of these, this is how we would solve it. If I were to build this location today, this is the way that I would build it. If you drive by Merriman Avenue, we presently have the drive-through closed to do this exact thing with a drive-through door and a second lane of mill fulfillment. So this is how we solve it. Moving the building would be the other option, which is a barrier to entry from a cost perspective. It's not something that my leadership is going to support in order to solve that.
Was there a reason that at the initial that you asked for a variance to move it from the middle to?
So this was 10 years ago. So based on where volumes were then, right? This location has doubled in volume from the time it opened until today. And so at that time, as Chick-fil-A, like folks dining with Chick-fil-A, it's mutual. We still want folks, that is still a major portion of our business. We want folks to come in, dine with us. We want to be the place where care comes to life. We want to serve your community in the dining room. Post-COVID, guests have told us very clearly they expect convenience from us. And for them, convenience is the drive-through. So this is guests in Waynesville. This is guests everywhere. So based on the demand that we see, this is something that this is a significant capital investment. So from a business perspective and a stewardship perspective, this is not something that I would propose if I didn't think that it was going to, one, meet the unmet demand, right? Like it is. While we want to serve the community, we want to make sure that we have the right facilities. Obviously, we still got to make good financial business decisions. So if this were not a sound financial business decision, then I would not be in front of you asking for you to grant this request.
Is that the crux of your request, the ability to, in other words, I talked about trade-offs. The trade-off of modifying the sidewalk and the trees and what have you versus the ability to meet unmet demand. Is that essentially
Yes.
what we are asked?
It's not purely that. I think from a demand perspective and from a team member and guest safety perspective, right, when these sites get busy, and so to answer your other question, why we moved it from the center of the site. So center set buildings, that is the way of effectively, if you look at other quick service restaurants, many of them have center set sites. What you will notice if you look at the evolution of quick service restaurants and their design, as the volume increases, drive-throughs become isolated to the edge of the site to deconflict your dine-in traffic from your drive-through traffic. And so if I were to build this location today, I would build it with the building about 12 feet to the north from where it was, right? So that I would have the ability to have this second drive-through lane, and I would build it that way. So if you look at Brevard Road, you look at any of the locations we built recently, you will notice, or West Asheville, you will notice all of them have 2 lanes of drive-through all the way around the building.
My other favorite restaurant is Hendersonville, off of Chimney Rock Road,
Mhm.
and it's the same thing. So I'm very familiar with
Yes, sir.
it. And
But from a volume perspective, again, this is a very high volume location. And so if I had the ability to rebuild this location and put this drive-through lane, this is the trade-off. Yes, it is the trees. I think we're willing to do whatever, I mean, to the extent reasonable, council determines. If you want larger caliber trees, we can do that. If you'd like us to pay into the tree fund and fee in lieu of, we're comfortable doing that as well. So the intent is.
You would be able to put trees every 40 feet.
No, sir, I don't believe that I would. I think we can put trees wherever we can agree with city staff that makes sense.
This question is for.
Yeah, yeah.
How common is it for an applicant who's received a conditional agreement in the past to come back and ask for a second bite of the apple?
Not common. However, landscaping has a lot of alternative compliance options, and we do work. Usually still has to meet intent though. Frontage means frontage, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say that with what we understand from a data perspective, we have a lot of data relative to this drive-through operation where we're at. Being able to put in this drive-through door and having this second lane of mill fulfillment will allow us to meet the unmet demand that's there presently. And it's my opinion that as Russ Avenue widens, the traffic counts are already incredible, as you know. And so when you widen it, you then have the ability for more traffic up and down that road. And so as Robert continues to grow his business, my concern is that if we don't have the ability to queue these additional vehicles on our site, which is what this allows us to do, it's not just, it is a safety play to get guests off the road. What I don't want to have happen is a scenario where we back out into Russ Avenue and we become an issue or a nuisance relative to traffic. And so we want to be good partners. We want to be good neighbors with both Ingalls and the city, the bank. We don't want our business to negatively impact anyone. And I have a deep concern that if we don't do this, then once this DOT work is complete, that we're gonna have an issue, and we're gonna need to come back and have this conversation again, just in relation to how much traffic is coming up and down Russ Avenue.
The other thing I think we need to be careful about, and council members touched on it, is the precedent question. So there are other businesses along Russ Avenue that are in far worse shape than Chick-fil-A is right now. And so if we approve this expansion, essentially to increase the drive-through capacity and throughput, it's important that we recognize that there are other restaurants, fast food restaurants along that corridor that are likely going to ask for the same thing.
Ready to close the public hearing?
Yeah. Well, I think Robert, who is the owner operator here, this location, like to address the council.
Thank you, council. Different take on the percentages of guests that skip us. So year to date, it's 13% of the guests who skip us. That's our current guests. But for me, that's important, and we can throw bodies at that and try to eliminate those numbers when it's not during the peak time. But in 2018, the group of Asheville operators, we went to Austin, met with another operator who pays a living wage. We came back, and that was my goal. I've paid a living wage for 2 working adults with 1 child up until the last few years. And now the costs have outpaced what we're able to do. Since we've been here, I've had team members that have gone from living in their cars. They now have apartments there at the end of by Lowe's. Team members that have now been pre-approved for home loans. So my thing is, I'm here for my team. I sacrifice for my family. My profits have been down the last 2 years, but not a single full-time employee has had their wages cut. They've not had their hours reduced. This year, I signed a contract for free healthcare for everyone that's on my team, including everyone in their household. So in order to do that, I have to have volume. I have to have sales. And really, it's, yes, Chick-fil-A wants to grow. I want to grow. I've got 70 full-time team members that I have to care for. And that to me is why we're doing this. So I'm trying to think anything else. You know, the other sides, I don't know if you look, and you can tell I don't like public speaking, but anyway, Special Olympics, I've sponsored the Special Olympics every year. This year is the first year we've posted on our social media. And I really struggled with that because we do so much for the community behind the scenes. I don't like to brag about stuff we do, who we take care of. That's not who I am. I'm a behind the scenes person. We do what we do because we're blessed to have plenty of volume, but to keep doing what we're doing and to take care of the team the way I want to. We started $18 an hour. Living wage for Waynesville is a little over 20 something an hour for 2 working adults with 1 child. I got to get there. I've broke my commitment that I made in 2018 when we went to Texas with the other operators. But finances are finances. You guys know how that goes with budgets, and you know, so we're asking for my 70 full-time employees out of the 95 we have. So
Do you have any further questions?
I do not, sir.
Good.
I'll make a motion to close No,
We got to open it up.
we got, oh, we're gonna come back.
Yeah, I got to open it up.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to open it up to the public now to speak, I guess. You,
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm Craig Justice. I'm here as well as on behalf of Chick-fil-A. I happen to represent both of these companies. And relating to the sidewalk question, this was touched on, and I just want to clarify and enhance this comment. Ingalls prefer the sidewalk to be relocated. If you pull up an aerial of the property, there's currently a sidewalk already on the other side of Chick-fil-A that provides access to the interior. To move it further down the street so that it aligns straight up with the shopping center of Ingalls is preferable to Ingalls. They want this sidewalk to move.
So you're representing both. So
Yes.
if Ingalls wants it and there's their property, why don't they just go ahead and build it?
They can do that, certainly.
Then-
But as part of this move, they would like the sidewalk to be moved.
I'm asking as representative of Ingalls, it's not a if or and statement. It is, why don't they just go ahead and build the sidewalk?
Well, they also want their tenant to succeed
Exactly.
and to grow and to prosper. And some of the comments here about this balance between maker's economy, which you heard them say that they believe themselves to be a maker's economy here because the business person being impacted is your local person. But you have to realize this property is designated on your land use map as mixed use regional. And there's significance to that. If you look at the staff report, it talks about the fact that it's intended to draw in customers from a wider community perspective, a regional perspective. That's why you have it along these highways. So it's very auto-oriented. And the fact that Rust Avenue is obviously getting wider is the reality that Rust Avenue is a transportation gateway to get into Waynesville. So we believe this is a maker's economy, but at the end of the day, your land use plan is encouraging more cars and more transportation. And this drive-through is all about trying to accommodate that. So I just want to make these points clearer. But to your point about it's an either or an or, the trade-off you talk about is the fact that they are going to enhance the sidewalk and put it in a better place. So they're not getting rid of a sidewalk. They're putting in a sidewalk somewhere else. And at
Said
the
a better place, a better place.
better place for Ingalls and a better place for Chick-fil-A. And so it's better for the businesses that are here. In terms of trees, obviously the proposal is to put in more trees than have been taken out. I also want to clarify this idea about street trees. When I look at your ordinance, a street, there's only 5 streets. There's a boulevard, design speed is 50 miles an hour. That's Russ Avenue, but I assume 50 miles an hour may be a little fast, but that's what the ordinance calls as Russ Avenue. There's an avenue, which is 45 miles an hour. There's a residential street, which is 40 miles an hour, business district street, which is 35 miles an hour, and an alley, which is 30 miles an hour. These are your streets. This entryway, this driveway, is not part of this street classification network that would drive the need for street trees. So your point, Councilman, when you say, well, you're asking for a variance of street trees, this is not a street we're talking about. This is a driveway. Now, granted, the conditional use plan had trees along it, but that was just a requirement of whether it took place in 2015. But it's not because it was a street. It was just a negotiated condition to put trees there. These folks are asking to put trees in other places, but we're not meeting the street tree standard. I just want to be clear for the record. We're meeting the street tree standard. We're proposing to add more trees than what we're taking out. So those are the comments I just wanted to clarify for the record. But Ingalls wants this to happen, as well as obviously Chick-fil-A.
Are there
Thank you.
some kind of written
Redress to-
agreement from Ingalls?
Excuse me,
Are
sir?
there a written agreement from Ingalls that that sidewalk is going to happen?
Yes, sir. That was handed to you earlier today.
I
Yeah.
would like Olga to speak to the trees.
So our ordinance for street trees planting requirements, section 8.5.1, says that street trees shall be planted in the right of way between the street and the sidewalk in accordance with the table below, which has space and standards. The street is defined as follows in land development standards. Street, a dedicated and accepted public right of way for vehicular traffic, which affords the principal means of access to abutment properties.
So would that be considered a street
By that definition, it would be, doesn't
from
necessarily
the
have-
land?
From the Land Development Standards,
Standards.
Chapter 17, general definition, a dedicated and accepted public right-of-way for vehicular traffic which affords the principal means of access to abutting properties, and that meets the definition.
So they would not be meeting the street tree requirement as it stands today. Yes.
I do need to address
this because,
Thank you, Elizabeth.
yes, can you zoom in just a little bit?
Yes.
The driveway we're talking about is this, right here.
Yes.
This is not a platted town street that has been accepted into our town street system. This one is, this is Fraser Boulevard, this is Barber Boulevard.
Right.
So, Mr. Justice is correct in that the street trees were part of the conditional district requirement, but don't technically meet, I mean, this is technically not a town
But-
street.
And they're asking for a conditional, again, which we're saying we'd like to have them every 40 feet.
Correct. So what we've done in other conditional districts is to require trees along frontages of all right-of-ways that serve the public, particularly in large, like shopping center type settings. We've asked for similar installations as a condition of the conditional district rezoning. We have in the past made changes to conditional district site plans. Ingalls, in fact, came back in and did a major conditional district revision and expanded their site plan several years ago. And then Publix is the other big conditional district
Just right
that
across the
was
street.
done along Russ Avenue. Now, they did not have to come back for any amendments, but you'll see there too that they have some interior driveways, and we worked with them to place trees where we could along some of those driveways as part of their landscape plan. So just a clarification there. Because when we use the term street trees, I think for that particular area, we have to be conscious that it was part of an adopted landscaping plan that was part of the conditional district. It's not necessarily part of the street tree requirement.
But it's part of the conditional district
Correct.
requirement.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's semantics for all intents and purposes, correct?
Right, because this is a legislative proceeding, and you ultimately have the ability to decide what you need in this conditional district rezoning. Now, the other landscaping requirements that do apply is that we like for every parking space to be no further than 40 feet from a shade tree.
Right.
And so what they're offering is, in taking down these trees along that side of the building, is to add more trees into the site and supplement what's already there. And in all fairness, we have, as a town, worked with alternative landscaping compliance to meet various situations that are site dependent. And then the last comment I'll make is that each conditional district zoning decision is a unique decision that you make. You're creating zoning that's tied just to that specific site. So really what you've done in other places is not as relevant to what you feel is appropriate for that particular location.
Can,
You have any more questions for Elizabeth?
can we get more detail on the caliper of the trees that are going to be added in to replace ones that would be taken down?
I think you said two.
Yeah, I'm Casey
maples,
Durden,
one
civil
redbud,
engineer.
And 3 willows.
Correct. And I think they were 2-inch trees. So I'm not a landscape architect. I'm a civil engineer. Typically, a landscape architect, they'll plant the smaller trees so the roots will establish versus a bigger tree. But if you guys need 4-inch, I'm sure that'd be fine.
Do we know the caliper of the existing trees?
I believe they were around 3-inch. I don't know that. I couldn't answer. I mean, they're labeled on our survey. I think it was one of the original documents the surveyor had picked up, part of his tree survey.
Could you ask that be part of the agreement?
Good, but
Okay. All right, if you've heard enough from them, I'm going to open it to the public. Okay, are there anyone in the public would like to speak on behalf of this amendment we're doing this afternoon? Okay, if no one else is to speak, then we'll need a motion to close.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Okay, got a motion to close.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Okay, Kathy, what?
I have no words. I'll just leave it with.
John? Julie?
Are we asking for comment? What are we doing?
Comments from
Comment.
us.
No, I don't have any more comments. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we
appreciate it.
will need a motion here, for another either to amend it or not amend it.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to deny the conditions of the conditional district map amendment.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to deny the amendment.
I'll second.
Got a second?
Oh, the first one, I'm sorry.
Either consistent
Oh.
or inconsistent.
I find it in,
Let's see.
so we need, this is a 2 for,
Sorry,
Yes, yes.
so we
thank you.
vote to deny, then we have to say inconsistent.
No, you do the consistency. and
Okay.
inconsistency first.
Oh, perfect.
You're good with that.
Then withdraw the first motion.
Yes, I withdraw that first motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to find the conditional district map amendment as proposed inconsistent with the 2035 land use plan.
okay. All right, I
Do
have
we
a
have to give a
motion.
reason for, actually,
So why is it consistent?
it's inconsistent in that it does not meet the maker's market
Okay, I need someone have a second.
economy.
Second.
Got a second with John? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, shall like sign.
Okay, Julie, now you.
Okay, now, I'm sorry about that. I make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to deny with conditions, the conditional district map amendment.
Okay, got a motion to deny.
Second.
Got a second by Anthony. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, shall like sign. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, and we will move on to our next item will be a budget public hearing. We're going to go through this anyway. right?
Yeah, the general statutes require that a council hold a public hearing
Okay,
on their proposed budget. Ian's here to provide you with that public hearing. I'll say as he walks in that the hearing that you'll hear tonight will be the presentation that the staff made. We are very cognizant of your motion from last week, but we're not in position to aggregate all of the work that Ian has done. He'll give you an update on what he's done, and if you notice, he's lost quite a bit of weight since Friday.
Don't
But,
still have to open the public hearing.
please bear with us as we give you a presentation of our original proposed budget, because that's what we have for you at this point.
We still have
So we have
to
to-
open, we still have
Yes.
to open for a public
Right.
hearing.
I'm
So
just
I'll-
giving you an intro.
I'll need a motion from someone to
I'll make a
open.
motion to open public hearing.
Okay, got a motion from Anthony,
I'll second.
second from John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like sign. Okay.
So my understanding, he has to present the original,
That's correct.
but knowing that we're going to do changes.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the reason is because we don't have the changes aggregated in such a way that would make sense to you right now.
I could send you my spreadsheet.
I feel like your spreadsheet would scare me.
Yeah, no.
No, update though, based on our workshop that we had on Friday. Since that time, I have met with 10 departments. So we are well underway and taking seriously what you all had expressed as your wishes at the workshop on Friday. So if Luke can get my PowerPoint up, I will represent the PowerPoint that I presented to you all on Friday.
Have you found that they're having success in getting that 2.5% or more?
Yes. For the most part, recently what I've seen from the 10 departments I have met with, we're hanging out in the 3.5% to 5% range.
Which is
So
exactly where I thought they would go.
And it's important to know how serious we took it. We were off yesterday. So Friday and today, he's met with 10 departments.
Wow.
No wonder you've lost weight.
well, the two milkshakes I've had today didn't help.
Milkshakes don't count.
Exactly. You get it.
Unreasonably certain they
Calories aren't real during budget season.
No, they are not, because you burn a lot more than you consume.
Exactly. So the initial budget that we had presented, overall, between all of the funds, it's about $42,408,075. What makes that up is $20,456,390 in the general fund, $4,031,086 in the water fund, $5 million. My eyes aren't that good. $5,951,250 in the sewer fund, $11,776,735 in the electric fund, and $200,614 in the stormwater fund. So, some of the initial recommendations on the revenue side, a 10% increase in water rates, 10% increase in sewer rates, and a 3.19% increase in electric rates, and also an additional 2-cent property tax increase. That electric increase does also include the first 6 months of a new wholesale contract.
Can we talk about this one
Yeah.
just for a moment?
Sure.
The reason that the water and the sewer have to go up is those are different than the general fund. They have to sustain themselves.
Correct.
So they are not a tax. They have to collect as much fees as they cost to operate.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And that the electric, we're proposing a 3.19%, whereas Duke Energy is proposing an 18% to its customers.
Correct.
Just want to make clarity for the press.
And the reason the staff had initially recommended an increase on property taxes, House Bill 1089 at the state level has the potential, if passed, to limit that increasing power in the future on the local government level. That increase in property tax would be able to support bringing the first responders pay up to market. And then these were the COLA scenarios we ran through, just depending on, how we wanted to take the budget. Right now, the budget does not have a COLA baked into it. It does have a 2.5% career track accounted for each full-time employee.
I'm interrupting you
No,
again.
you're good.
Now, a COLA, we do have departments such as the police and the fire that are being brought up to market. So that would
Correct.
actually be a cost of, even though it's a payroll study, it would get them to the market,
Market
which
rate.
would not need a COLA.
That's correct.
Correct.
As would water, sewer, and electric. We've also brought them up to market.
Yes.
Do we have a dollar amount of what it would be for each one of these if, to exclude those that are getting the payroll study?
Paige, do you have that?
I sent it to Ian
Uh-oh.
over the weekend. Don't have my here with me, so I don't have those numbers. If you all want them, I can look up.
I can pull it
Will
up.
make a difference for tonight.
We'll give him.
You want me to get it? I got it on my
Yes,
phone.
exactly. Of an approximate dollar amount, because I'm looking at that, what you said, 2.5%, 3.5%, 5%, to be
Yeah.
able to give those additional employees the COLA. Because as we heard in our last meeting, it's imperative that we continue the COLAs to keep us up to market, because in 5 years, it gets exacerbated with,
Tell you that we need, those COLAs need to be, fewer, the price index.
Right.
Needs to be mirrored and meet the
and I think it's 3.1, I forget. Is it
3.8.
3.8? Or it's close there too. Sorry, Ian, I'll keep interrupting.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm answering the questions before you get them, right?
That's fine with me. I'm not going to complain about it. So yeah, so 1% COLA in the general fund for employees who were not impacted by the pay study. 1% COLA, including FICA retirement and 401k contributions equals $62,823.
So that
32
includes
cents.
401k as well.
Correct. Yep.
And that's for people in the general fund who weren't eligible for market adjustments.
So the folks who have not studied yet, are included in that number. You just need
And those are what?
the administrative staff, finance staff, recreation full-time staff, admin, HR, and development, services.
Gotcha.
all of
So,
those, and our public works operations.
okay.
So you said 62,823, so the 2% would be 125,646, and the 3% would be 188,469.
Yes.
If my math is correct.
That sounds-
FICA, retirement, 401k.
FICA, FUTA, okay, so you include all of that. That answered the question for workshop. Thank you.
Anthony, again, tell me how this affects the people that wasn't in that pay study, like for streets and sanitation.
Right, they have already been in a payroll study, and they're being brought up to market value.
Yeah.
So they're all getting raises. Yes.
I don't mean to correct you, but
Oh, no, he was asking about the
the
other.
sustainability side of public works.
Right.
Were in that case study. They were brought up by 7%. For streets and sanitation staff, not been studied.
But are they included in this increase?
There's a 1%
They would,
COLA that we just
Yes.
gave. Yes,
Yeah.
there.
so I'm trying to be equitable to those people who got the pay study as those that were not. So the people that did not get raises in the pay studies, I believe, should get COLA increases to bring them up to market or close to market.
Yeah, I just want those people that's in that lower bracket.
Right.
like
I have not, we have not forgotten them.
picked up. Yeah,
We
I
have-
don't want those guys to be
Right.
left out there. They're just as important.
I believe in equity and fairness, even though equity is considered a bad word by some
Hey.
people, but I think everyone should be equally compensated across the board.
Paige, the plan is to study those positions, right?
Beginning in July.
Okay. And would we expect that we would make those adjustments in the, during the budget year?
We would have the data.
I mean,
it would be advantageous to be able to apply those mid-year.
But the goal of giving them a COLA is to get them closer to where they may or may not be whenever the payroll study comes into play.
Correct, so the COLA is, it's going to get them closer to what that market rate would be when the salary study.
So I would say that there is no money in this budget for compensating the folks for the study. However, it's kind of our tradition to look at our receipts, our revenues at the end of the Christmas season. And when we see that we've done better than we predicted, we've used some of those as we did.
Just last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Julia made the motion for the additional bonus. Well, we can, if we are lucky and we have a good year, we can use that bonus to fund that third leg of pay study earlier than we would have predicted.
Keeping in mind, folks, that I always budget for that baseline employee appreciation bonus. That is baked into this budget.
the 500 is what you're talking. And last year we gave 1,500,
That is
correct?
correct, sir.
But that was before we'd implemented some of the payroll study to get them up to market value.
That is true. You all took your additional, was it the sales tax revenue?
Sales tax
And
revenue.
applied that to increase the employee appreciation bonus from 500 to 1,000.
So again,
Or
the
1,500.
ultimate goal is to get everyone paid what they deserve to be paid.
Mhm.
That would be the ideal.
But there's no way of doing it in this budget.
No, our goal is to give them, the people who did not have the payroll study, to give them a COLA. That's the reason I'm getting more, the bigger the cuts of the 3.5% to 5% is ideal to be able to make that 3%. And
June
then
30th.
hopefully, to those that did not get the increase.
Yeah, I want it to happen, you know.
We need to make that very clear, that our goal is to get them.
Absolutely.
Exactly, June 30th, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead.
And then the capital and improvements that we had recommended, we had $100,000 for the admin department for necessary IT upgrades and having an IT worker on site. $65,000 for public works for replacing aging HVAC equipment around town. We had $135,000 towards parks and recreation to replace an aging ADA compliant van. We have $100,000 for sewer for line and pipe replacement, $30,000 for sewer for the playground street improvements, $1 million for sewer as a treatment plant bridge repair, and this would be financed as a loan from the electric fund balance. We have $100,000 for sewer for clarifier pumps and $750,000 for the electric division as Allison Acres and Richland Street improvements.
In my understanding, 2 of those have already been adjusted.
Yes. Yes.
What is Allison Acres?
Allison Acres, I understand it's a development that's coming in. We'll have
I
to,
know what,
Queen's
is that
Farm.
still,
Is that, no,
it's next to Queen's Farm, but I hadn't heard that it's actually happening.
I will, I was actually meeting with Ricky today, and he had talked with Jay about that capital item. So I'll be meeting with him again this week to have more detail on that and see what's truly the need.
Yeah. I thought that project, we approved it.
it was delayed.
Yeah, but I hadn't heard anything, and the property is for sale, I think, so. Yeah,
That's all I got on the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, that was quick.
It was as quick as it was Friday.
Okay. Does anyone have any further questions for him while he's on the spot? If not, this will continue at our budget workshop, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no action needed for this item. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you all.
can someone remind me when the
Eight.
8th?
8:30.
Okay,
June 8th at
Do we need
8:30.
to make a motion to accept the budget and schedule further discussion?
Well, you continued your meeting from last Friday to the 8th, so that meeting's continued.
It's still open.
But we still have a public hearing open.
Yeah, well, you have to ask for public comment, then you can close it once the public's had a chance
We
to
have
speak.
now for public comment.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else out that would speak on behalf of the budget in the public out there? Okay. If not, I'll ask for a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
second.
Got a second with John. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, show a like sign. Okay, we move on to our next item. Be moving on to old business. It's a Kenton Clyde Waynesville Emergency Water Interconnect Agreement. Rob, you bring us up to par on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to go back quite a few years, but if you remember, the towns of Canton, Clyde, and Waynesville teamed up to have a study done of constructing a countywide water interconnect. And that study came out that the project was feasible, and using that study, we applied, meaning Canton, Clyde, and Waynesville applied to the state for SRF funding for the interconnect. The three towns got SRF funding totaling $15.5 million, of which Waynesville's grant is $2,006,840. Our grant has a 100% principal forgiveness, meaning it's essentially a grant, even though it's a loan. It does carry a 1.5% fee. The structure of the agreement that the three managers and the county manager have fleshed out for you is that the interconnect is designed to provide a minimum of 2 million gallons per day. And remember, this is an expensive interconnect. It's meant to last 30 or 40 years. The interconnect agreement states that the 2 million gallons a day is subject to the capacity of each individual water plant. Canton can't provide us with 2 million gallons a day today. 20 years from now, they can.
Hopefully 3-4 years from now.
That's correct. So you really don't want to go all the way across the county and undersize a line like this. You really are doing this for the future. So the 12-inch line is designed to handle 2 million gallons a day minimum. It is an emergency interconnect. It is not meant to be tapped into. So if somebody comes and says, well, I want to put 500 houses out in the county, here's the interconnect. This interconnect would reduce its emergency capacity by allowing other housing or business or commercial developments to tap into it. It is truly an emergency water connect. The line, we have a choice between keeping the line dry, meaning that there's no water in it, or keeping it chlorinated and potable. If we do have a crisis, in both Canton and Clyde and Waynesville had a water crisis in the last 5 months, we want to be able to cut the interconnect on and immediately provide potable water. The plan has a 250,000 gallon tank located off Ratliff Cove. I think it's Ratliff Cove Road. I apologize for not knowing all the locations in the county. And that tank will, of course, need to be kept chlorinated. We estimate that to keep the system chlorinated, it will take 40,000 gallons of water per day. However, the town of Clyde has agreed to purchase that water for that. And without their ability to purchase the water, it would make the interconnect almost impossible to operate. The agreement requires that whoever buys the water would buy it at the outside bulk rate. That would be $4.22 per 1,000 gallons in your upcoming budget. That includes the increase that you have. Each section of the interconnect is outlined in your map that was provided to you. Our section ends with the tank, and then Clyde picks up ownership until they get to a meter pit. I think this is at the bottom of the hill in Clyde as just before you begin to rise over the mountain into Canton. Canton would have ownership of the rest of the interconnect. Each group will have responsibility for its own property acquisition. However, if it's cheaper for us to hire an acquisition agent than to do it individually, we have that right. There is no formal body named in here. We're doing this as essentially a joint project. This is a type of intergovernmental agreement which the statutes permit for. Waynesville will be the lead entity for providing grant for sending requests for payment to and from DER, DNR. They're requesting that each individual city send in their portion individually, which is somewhat of a pain. What we'll do is we'll get a request from the contractor for if they're building Canton's portion. We'll review it with the engineer, and then it'll be sent to DEQ for payment. The 3 cities will ask DEQ to front us some money. As you know, that sometimes with the sewer plant, we would get a pay estimate in for over $1 million. None of the 3 cities could pay $1 million bill for a $15 million project. We are going to ask DEQ to front the towns a certain portion of their grant in advance so that we won't have cash flow problems. And so for Waynesville, as the project manager, and this is Mason, a finance project manager, not an engineering manager, the town would be compensated its actual hours. We're not giving this service to Canton or Clyde. If Ian and Karam spend an hour or 2, or Gail spend an hour or 2, we will bill the group for the town's time over the life of the job.
And the 40,000 gallons that you said would be necessary to essentially keep the system primed. Clyde is buying that water
That's correct.
from us?
That's correct.
Okay.
That means, and also, if you have a fire event, if you have a broken water line in Canton, they would buy that water from us at that rate. The same token would be if we were to have a water emergency and we bought water from Canton, we will purchase that water at their bulk outside rate. And I would, and I would, we do not have a interconnect agreement with Maggie Valley, even though we've had an interconnect way longer than my term. I'd suggest that in the next year, we negotiate a similar contract with Maggie, since they've always wondered what we would charge them if they had a water emergency. Maggie Valley Water Authority.
So Rob, just to piggyback on John, so use 40,000 gallons for Clyde at $4 and how many cents did you say?
22 cents per 1,000 gallons. It's about,
So that's $160,000.
that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And are we being asked to make that decision whether we want to keep it primed or not, or is that pretty much baked in?
That's baked into the contract.
Okay.
If you don't keep it prime and you have a fire event, if you have a broken water line and you drain, we would have to hand chlorinate the entire line, have it sit 24 hours, and then have our lab or Canton's lab check the biology to make sure that the chlorine contact is in. So our response would be at a minimum of 48 hours to respond to a crisis.
So you would
And
have to
that's-
foresee a crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are dry water connects and there are wet water connects and
But
or
ours
potable
is
water
going
connects.
to
This is
be-
could be potable.
Okay. And the, looking at the map, there is the water tower up off of Sunnyside at the top of the hill there. That we're not gonna have to build a tower, is that correct?
Yeah, it's the Ratliff Cove tank is where we are. No.
Ah.
No, here's the tank.
Booster pump
It's
station.
this proposed town of Clyde, downtown Clyde booster pump station. That's theirs and their meter fit. And then the Ratliff Cove tank is ours. That's where Waynesville section and Clyde sections intersect.
Gotcha.
And then if you follow the road towards Canton, the proposed town of Clyde booster pump station and meter on the bypass is where Clyde and Canton, their sections separate each other.
Sounds great. Y'all do good work.
Yep. Everyone understand? Okay. We'll need a motion
Well, I have one
to,
question,
uh,
of course. I have,
to approve this interconnect
Of
agreement.
course. I got one
Anthony's got
question.
a question.
Of course. Do we have a designated person that's going to represent the town of Waynesville whenever you leave?
Your manager. He represents everybody. The poor sucker. So
In the interim.
in the interim, you mean, hopefully, the candidate you're going to interview is an extremely experienced manager. I don't have any doubt that this would be a walk in the park. And as I've said many times, I'm no farther away than the telephone.
We have that on recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got 20 years of Shelby.
Not for the first 30 days as HR.
Coming from the
HR
director.
staff.
I don't think she wants anything to do with me for 30 days after the 10th.
Rob, the only other question, and this is unrelated, but our water level, I just want the public to know, give us the water level
Okay,
update.
water is flowing over the spillway.
Wonderful.
Nice.
We're at full pond.
I've never even seen that.
Fantastic.
Now, you've come on walks with,
I have, but I've never
Seen
seen.
overflow.
Yeah.
well, I tell you what, this summer we'll give you the tour where you see the overflow
Yes.
and you get to see the rattlesnakes that sun
I've seen a
themselves on the way.
rattlesnake.
Oh, well, these are Waynesville rattlesnakes.
They're calmer.
They're bigger and plumper than other rattlesnakes.
I'm sure they are.
We have the best rattlesnakes in
We
Western
do.
North Carolina.
We do.
I got my story.
So as you know, I was raised partially in Alabama, and we had what was called a rattlesnake roundup, where everybody went out and caught rattlesnakes, and then we cooked them and ate them.
Oh,
So
Lord.
maybe that's something Karina could work on
digress.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we need a motion for this agreement for the interconnection.
I'll make a motion to approve the interconnect agreement.
Okay, got a motion?
Second,
Second by Julia. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, show like sign. Okay, let me find where I'm at here. All right, we'll move on to items 6, selective architect firm to design the fire station 2. That is Julia Freeman. Julia Freeman
That
is
is
going
me.
to bring us up to par.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to give some background on how we have come to where we are today. And the RFP was released earlier this year, and just some of the considerations of that RFP were operational efficiency, site traffic flow, specialty functions to integrate first response amenities, current and future staffing, resiliency and sustainability standards, community input, sensitivities, procurement, delivery development, site constraints, and designing to our budget. And also in that RFP was the architectural design, bid documents, and construction administration. I'm going to ask both AC Pardon and Chief Mahaffey to help me on this, but I'll just go through some stuff. And I'd love to hear from both of you because we worked on this a lot last week and even well before that, reviewing stuff. For the public, we received 6 applications, which is great. And when you sit down an RFP to get 6, and after reviewing those, we selected 3 to go through onto the interview process and the interview stage. After 2 days of interviews, the selection committee had the difficult decision to choose the architectural firm to move forward to contract with. After all 3 firms were interviewed, it was clear each was more than qualified to give Waynesville the fire station that we are looking for. Each firm has existing experience in fire stations design. They have a very competent staff. They are familiar with and worked many projects on fire stations within the state of North Carolina. That being said, after consideration and careful thought, we have made the decision to move forward with McMillan, Pardon, and Smith, which at this point, which is such a long name, we're going to call them MPS from this point forward.
Yeah.
So I'd like the chief and AC Pardon to share your thoughts on the process and how we come to this decision.
Okay.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank you, the town manager, Elizabeth Teague, and David Kelly for participating in this panel that had the difficult decision of paring down those architecture firms. And also, John sat in for a little while on a couple of them, and you saw the caliber of architects that we talked to. So it was very difficult. Just like you said, I think any one of them could have built the station that we need, but it ultimately came down to folks that we really thought got what was important to us. And the most important part was getting those initial documents that would help free up the money to allow us to actually move forward with the station. So again, I don't think we could have gone wrong with any of those firms, but they had already detailed out the schedule for those documents. They had carefully laid out the planning on that. And really, again, I think there was a lot of crossover. If you notice, the engineers were the same engineers in a couple of those. They had to set with one firm and then come back and set with another firm. But I think they had done the best demonstration of those documents. So I think I'm excited moving forward, and I appreciate everybody's help helping us select that firm.
Was that the first firm that presented that day I was here?
Yes.
The one we selected?
The ones we couldn't even sit down.
Yeah.
Yes, they chose to stand. We had to have it in here because of some audio visual requirements, and we tried to set them up, and they stood the entire time like they wouldn't sit down. We brought the tables in, they stood out here. They did a great job. They were prepared. So
Yeah.
It's almost like they knew it was going to be a USDA.
oh,
They all did. That was part of it.
Yeah,
That was in the
part of it.
RFP, yes,
Yeah, that was part of the RFP.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And all of them had backgrounds working with USDA facilities.
Yep.
Sorry.
oh, you're good. I'll echo what Chief Mahaffey said. We greatly appreciate all the involvement from the other town staff and Ms. Boyd as well. And of course, we definitely want to show some gratitude towards Rob and trying to get this pushed through as far as we possibly can before he decided to leave us. So we're really looking forward to it. We had some very stringent questions for him, and all the firms done a well job, and we're looking forward to hopefully see something in the future.
Sounds great.
Do we, did we get any kind of indication when this, we select them tonight officially, and what's next? When are they getting started?
So I've contacted all the firms one way or another and have spoken to McMillan or PA. I'm glad I'm not going to be here to remember.
MPS.
I don't think I'll ever get MPS.
They're MPS from this.
Anyway, I've spoken to them. I've asked that they get on stick and provide us with a lump sum contract. It's going to be a two-phase contract because USDA requires a preliminary architectural report or a PAR. That'll be $60,000 to $100,000, and then, but that will also involve them doing the first normal phase of an architect. You won't lose any time, but they do have to prepare a written document for USDA as part of USDA requirements. And then what their contract is going to do is that PAR will set a project budget. Now, I set aside $6 million, but they may find that when they finish it, it could be $4 million too. So they will wait to set the remainder of their fee based on the complexity of the station, the size of the station. So, if you just want to put up a metal lean-to building, it'll be really cheap. If you want to go, all whole hog, then you're going to get a heavy fee. But anyway, I've asked them for that contract. I've told them it would be great if we could have that contract back by the 9th so that you could consider it. They said they would try. At a personal level, I'd like to see it. So I'd like to leave you ready to start that project. They are ready. They have the capacity to start on it immediately. Sometimes doing the contract takes longer than actually doing some of the initial work. So hopefully they'll get this to us.
So pie in the sky, kind of, what's your ballpark estimate that when our wonderful fire department will move in?
So I estimate it'll take 6 months to get the USDA's approval to free up the 2.97 million. In the meanwhile, Ian and my replacement will work on a loan to provide the balance of that money. they won't be able to consummate that loan until the PAR shows them what the project budget is. And it's possible that the bank will say, we're not going to consummate the loan until we see the bids. So I suspect that you may be under construction in a year to a year and a half.
I would say 36, I would estimate 36 months. And MPS was the only architectural firm that we interviewed that actually gave us a schedule, an estimated schedule, working through the process and dealing with the USDA and other restraints on funding. That just, the process is long and tedious.
So
You got to go through construction bid documents, architectural designs and all that. I think that my estimate, now Rob knows as much as I do or more, but I would say be at least 3 years working with the path that we're on at this point.
To start or to end?
To get in.
Yes. Yeah, I said 1.5 years to start.
To start it, yeah.
Okay.
And I'd say, yeah. And hopefully quicker than that, but we're dealing with the great unknown with the, the one thing too, just, and it'll be my last statement about MPS and all the firms too, they were focused forward on the needs of the fire department. And so that's what's so important to me is that this needs to be, these gentlemen and these women, that hopefully there'll be some women in the department soon. And it's their needs. It's not our needs. And it's, developing this building that's going to meet for the next, 25, 30 years, what we're looking for in the future. So we were very impressed with that firm.
Chief, what happens to Station 2 after y'all move into this brand new?
Well, that's something for the council and the new manager to determine.
So you won't need it, right?
No.
Y'all are
plans for it.
moving up.
So you did a space needs study. Julia and Gary probably know it. I think Lee was in charge of that in his last 2 or 3 years. But it contemplated those bays being enclosed and that area being upgraded to office space. So that's the future, I'd say. At your next meeting, I'm going to provide you with some parting thoughts, but a design I've had done to flood proof that building, to put flood doors in, to put panels under the windows that are waterproof. And so when you do the bays, those of you that will be on the council 10 or so years from now, you'll want to make sure that those bays are built in such a way that there's a waterproof wainscoting around it, and any door that you build into that be flood proof. You've spent too much money on that building just to have it flood again.
Yeah.
And when we redid Station 2 and then redid it again after the flood, we designed it in a way that would not limit people moving in. If you look at those rooms, they're set up to become offices in that space. We didn't do anything super fire department proprietary in that in anticipation of moving out. So whoever does occupy that, they shouldn't have any huge hurdles to overcome other than those bays.
So one last section I recommend you place in the contract, if I'm not here, is a section that gives this design firm the authority to design a renovation of Station 1. You remember that station, as pretty as it is, it's a volunteer station. It has 2 bunk rooms. It's almost functionally obsolescent. What Chris and Cody and I have talked about is removing the 3 offices and converting them to bunk rooms and put a second shower so that we'll have both men's and women's shower facilities, trying to do it within the roof line and the elevation or the walls of the existing building. we'll take Chris's office and a couple others and a meeting room and move them and put them in Station 2 while we're doing that design. That does two things. One, Chris doesn't have to work out of his car. But secondly, the 3.3 acres is far better to have training events in. We will recommend that your meeting room be something that the community can use when they, want to get together and argue over the future of Hazelwood. And also it gives more parking for the staff. So it's a far more flexible site than Station 1. So functionally, Station 2 will become your main station.
Any questions?
Can't wait.
This is true. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Well, Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the McMillan Hasnan Smith. The last time I have to say that. Architects as the design firm for Fire Station 2 and authorize the committee to negotiate a lump sum contract to prepare a PAR and a fee for remaining architectural services.
Got a motion? A second from
Proud
Julia?
second for me.
Second from Julia. And thank you again, Julia, for all your hard work on
These
this.
guys did it.
I am so proud of you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like sign. Okay.
Cool.
We're on to go.
He just sat right down there.
Yeah.
No sense in going forward.
Our next is a new business. We've got a budget amendment for the fire department for a vehicle repair. One of our engines, correct, is down with a bad engine.
That's correct.
Engine's down with a bad engine.
Right. That's how I've been explaining it. We have a blown motor in a fire engine. We got to change terminology there. We do. It's engine 1, which is the primary engine out of Station 1 up here on North Main Street. It's 2010 Pierce Contender. When Chief Webb came in, it was one of the instrumental changes that he made. Right now, it's got 104,000 miles on it. So it's 16 years old. That's really not very, it's a lot of miles for a fire engine, but not a lot of miles for a large diesel engine, of course. It did have catastrophic engine failure. So we're very thankful for our finance department working with them. They were able to find some money in the finance budget in order to try to move those monies over to help us make a full engine replacement, which I think is in the budget packet there, or in the agenda packet. I think it totaled to $61,000 minus the taxes. So that's something we have no other option unless you want to buy me a fire engine, which year to date, we're including this right now, $99,000 in the hole in vehicle repairs and maintenance. So just for this fiscal year right now. So
I do want to buy you a fire. I want to buy you too.
now I would greatly appreciate it too.
It's been 61,000 on a 2010.
I have a question for Ian.
Okay.
You stated, see the,
Anthony, you-
on the source side, it says that 20,000 are from part-time salaries, 25,000 for accounting software, 9,000 for regular salaries. Is the finance running below budget on these because of genuine surplus, or are services being deferred to find this money?
Yeah, so with the salaries, we've had turnover, and we did a restructuring, and if you'll recall in earlier meetings a month ago, we converted one of our full-time employees after we implemented our electronic time clock. We realized the burden of payroll was not what it once was, so we were able to roll them over to be a hybrid payroll customer service role. So that saves a lot of money in part-time salaries and full-time salaries.
And the next question is coming, has that been anticipated in the upcoming budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Our part-time salary has been adjusted to reflect that.
Okay.
You got off easy.
I was just grateful for Ian and Karen finding some money so that we had the opportunity, I
Was
guess.
there Are we going to be able to get this repaired before the next budget, or is there a reason, is that the reason we're not rolling it into the next budget?
Yeah, we're trying to get it repaired as soon as possible. And the main reason for that is, while we're done with that, we also had another fire engine that sustained significant damage, striking a utility pole. So right now, we're currently down 2. We actually have to have 3 per the insurance standard, fire engines inside of the town at all times. So right now, we have 2, and in order to keep that up, we had to rent a fire engine, which is possible, and it's $5,000 a month. So we're currently renting a fire engine at $5,000 a month until we can get some repairs made. So
It's bizarre because the fire engine is what, $1 million. It might be
Yeah.
more. I'm gonna have to do an analysis to see if it's better to rent.
He's gonna
one.
rent the entire fleet out.
Sorry.
well, the truck that we're renting is of the exact, well, it's actually 2 years older than the truck that we're having to replace, or excuse me, the motor in the truck that we're having to replace. It came from Hilton Head. That department down there purchased a brand new truck and they traded that one in to try to offset some of those costs. So,
Mine's sinking head,
yep.
renting hours, once we get the other one replaced.
Okay, I'll need a motion, one direction or the other.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the fire department finance budget amendment.
Okay, got a motion by Joel,
I'll second.
second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Diesel, what is that place? They're local, Camler.
Diesel Power, yes, sir. Yeah, they're right over there in Candler and exit 37. So
Yeah,
closest dealer, and I'll give kudos to, just so y'all are aware, Chris Bobby, our fleet supervisor. He's been phenomenal and was very instrumental in helping us get. I think we ended up with probably 3 or 4 quotes total. He had to do a whole lot of legwork in order to get those, but that one there was the lowest one, and of course local as well, as local as we can get. So
okay.
thank y'all.
Are
Thanks,
they
Doug.
giving you any kind of indication how long it'll take?
So they're saying right now could be 2 months. So we're prepared, and with Rob's approval and guidance, we're set up to be able to rent this fire engine for 3 months with the opportunity to extend if necessary. So hopefully in 3 months, we'll get some fire trucks back.
So does that fire truck say Hilton Head, just so I'll know who?
It does on the inside of the door. On the outside of the door, it says, has Safe Industries, which is the vendor that we use to purchase a lot of equipment, has a logo on the side of the doors there. So
Can we get some magnetic signs?
I do have, it's got tag holders on the doors and on the front and the rear that you can drop tags in.
Yep.
So it does at least say 15 on it for station 15. So if you get any questions about it, you'll know what's driving up and down the streets. So
I think I heard it yesterday.
probably,
You guys were busy yesterday.
yes, we were. 15 calls yesterday.
I kept hearing it over and over.
Yep.
So
Pretty steady day.
thank you guys for everything you
Yep.
do.
Thank y'all.
Just hope it, you know.
Okay, thank you. We move on to item 8, special event permit for Waynesville's First Friday. Is someone here to speak on that? Okay, Jerry?
Thank you for your time. I'm Jerry Jackson. I'm the owner of Selma Gundy Gallery on Main Street and the co-organizer for Waynesville First Friday. So on the scale tonight, I'm at a 1 on excitement. So budgets and salary studies excite me. So I'm way below that and way below rattlesnakes. Although I will be applying to TDA for a grant for a rattlesnake event, and I'll come back for another permit request. But I'm here in regards to Waynesville First Friday Shop, Sip, and Stroll to request approval of a special event permit, including authorization for a temporary social district for the monthly First Friday events held from May through December. So Waynesville First Friday is truly a maker's economy event. Largely in part. So I think we really nailed it on the actual definition that John gave. Of course, this is a predecessor. Our predecessor was Art After Dark, and so everybody knows that from the last 25 years. So we had the same schedule. The only thing that's different for Waynesville First Friday is the hours, and that's from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Versus the 6 to 9 in the past. So the event invites residents and visitors to experience downtown Waynesville with extended shopping hours, gallery exhibitions, live music, art demonstrations, special promotions, food and beverage offerings, and community activities. When we formed, my cohort in this is Tiffany Watts from Twigs and Leaves. When we came together to kind of revive this program, one of the things we really wanted to do is increase the economic impact downtown and engage every single business downtown. As many of you know, there used to be a lot more galleries in Waynesville, and Art After Dark made a lot more sense. And unfortunately, we don't have as many at this point, but we want an experience for everybody, whether it's dining, shopping, clothes shopping, whatever, galleries. We want it to be for everybody. And so we've been working more from an economic standpoint, revitalization, not revitalization, but just that development and collaborative effort from all of our merchants downtown. By having this request, historically, many businesses have provided alcohol in their establishments. And if this permit is granted, it will allow many of the business to actually stop serving alcohol. Because one, that's been to some degree an economic burden on some of the merchants, and it's even greater right now. And the fact that many people literally walked out of those businesses and showed up at the next business with alcohol really helps us out as merchants as well. But the event organizers will continue to coordinate with participating businesses, downtown stakeholders, and public safety officials to ensure the event remains safe, organized, and beneficial to the downtown community. Any questions?
George, you have any questions?
No, sir.
John?
Had just one thing. On the application, it was clicked that this event does not involve the sale or use of alcoholic beverages. So it's just a little technical issue that we need to correct for the applicant. Yes, on the special event application, it's checked no, that it does not involve the sale or use of alcohol. If we could just change that to yes, so that so
I think
just a little
from the application, I know we've talked to Jesse some various things that are not quite clear. So we were thinking from our perspective, the organizers, but yes.
Just procedural.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Good. Okay, guys, we need a motion in that order to approve a special event permit.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event permit for Waynesville First Friday and the proposed social district guidelines.
All right, got a motion by Anthony,
Second.
second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. All right, we move on. Flip over here. We've got a policy adoption. Here, sale of burial plots in undermined areas of a historic cemetery property. Matthew,
Sir,
this rain's a killing you out there.
it's wearing us out. Yeah. Thankfully we had a pretty dry spring, so it wasn't quite so big of a push, especially right now while we're a little bit understaffed. So we're hoping to get that hired out next week or so. So hopefully we'll be able to get back on the mend on schedule mowing wise, but yes, rain is wearing us out.
I've been there a couple of times in the last month, as everyone's probably aware, and you guys do a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll pass it on to guys.
You got a
They-
new crew up there right now.
I have to say, I went one day with a baseball cap and in blue jeans, so no one knew who I was, and they were I can't believe how genuinely caring everyone there is.
Yes, sir.
To everybody.
Yeah, and they take pride in what they do. They take pride in helping the community in how they're doing that up there, physically, and also how they take care of families when they speak to them as well. So I'm very glad to hear that. I always knew that about them anyways, but it's great to hear from you guys. So thank you.
That meant a lot to me.
Good.
Okay.
Good. I'll pass it along.
Okay.
All right. So this policy here, we've had quite a few inquiries over the past couple of years of purchasing plots in the historic section. It's the most beautiful place in the world. Everybody wants to be on top of the hill. Everybody wants to be up there with the flowers and close to their families. And our biggest problem is that we don't have perfect records. Nobody does, but we don't have perfect records. So these undetermined areas are where we don't know whether somebody's buried or not, somebody has purchased or not, whether the town of Waynesville has sold these plots or not already, or whether they're still the town of Waynesville's to sell. So what we're proposing in this policy here is basically to close that historic section down for the intents of selling. Let's see. Well, let me just read it off here just to close it off for new sales by the town of Waynesville, or transfers of property from other owners who don't have records. If you have a record, transfer it. No worries, no big deals. As long as we can determine how many lots are still available in that plot, then transfer it if you need to sell, however you do that. But the town of Waynesville will not be able to sell any more new plots in the historic section of the cemetery. Everywhere else in the cemetery, we've got near perfect records. We've got about 99% good records down in the lower section, in the Caldwells and the Factors and all those sections down there. But in that historic section, those records are few and far between. So we just want to close that off to keep the town of Waynesville from being held liable for selling somebody else's property. If we don't know that it's ours, we can't sell it. So that's basically my spiel.
So essentially, this doesn't preclude transfer of plots in the historic section that are verified of ownership.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And so, and the question becomes, and I know you've had many conversations with Mark Carden, as I have. And so this, first of all, policy was vetted and advanced to the council by the cemetery committee, correct?
It was not voted specifically on. The vote was to send it to our attorney to check it over, to make sure that if any language needed to be changed, that it needed to be changed or could be changed. The way this motion reads here is to accept it. If you guys find it acceptable, they will find it acceptable as well. They liked it, but they wanted to send it up the chain. And whenever I brought it to Jesse just put it on here as adopting the policy, so that as long as you guys adopted it, that they would as well.
This is a very common practice. I've managed Revolutionary War towns, several of them, and they had closed their very, very old cemeteries because they could not prove ownership.
Right.
Not those old city halls, man, you had fires, the records were destroyed. When I was in Southport, we found, when somebody came in and said they wanted to be buried, we actually did a probe test and found that the majority of the graves actually had burials in them where we had no records. So we closed the old Smithfield burying ground in Southport, and we closed the burial ground in Pittsburgh. So this is a very common practice in North Carolina. If you can show your ownership, and a person who says they purchased it can show that they have a receipt for that purchase, then that doesn't preclude them from being buried there. but there can be no new burials.
No
And-
cells.
No new sales.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
No new sales.
Mhm.
And transfers have to be proven, just like a real estate transaction. It can't be word of mouth.
Has to be a deed.
Sure.
That's right. And many times with old historic cemeteries, somebody that said that grandmother promised them these two. Unfortunately, they weren't part of the will, but grandmother promised these two. And the city gets in the middle of fights among family members, and those are civil issues that shouldn't involve the family, but the city.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
How many?
That are closed for not for sale. With it, that word undetermined is, I mean, it is
Plots are-
massive.
How many plots do not have a recorded burial? That's the.
I would say approximately 35% of in that historic section. If not a little bit more.
It's so old that the people has passed on.
Exactly.
And the
And
headstones
deeds
have
are
gone.
gone, you know, so there's no record.
You
No
have,
record.
you have a perpetual fund. It is probably money well spent to hire a LiDAR company
That was my next question.
to go ahead and find out, what
The ground penetrating radar.
that's exactly right, because we found in the Smithfield burying ground that almost every plot had been occupied, and that was a huge shock. How many gravestones were gone, but there was evidence of internment.
Is there some,
There are
once we
private
do that,
companies
is there a
do
way
this.
that we could try to start some kind of research to try to find out who those people are? Well, I'm
Yes.
guessing it would be. a
Yes,
group
and I
that
think
would be-
what I'd recommend that you do is you use your state grant.
That's,
I think that we were, we've done a couple of those. We did one in Durham, and they're pretty extensive, but
I would suggest that going after we do this to apply for, see what grants are available.
And that's a good job for Alex McKay to help us with as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because my family's on top of that
Yes,
hill,
ma'am.
and I know we've got,
My family's on top of that.
so we've got grave sites that we've not used, but the
Right.
Boyd family. But also I do know that surrounding that whole area, exactly what you all were saying is, there are a lot of people on that hill that couldn't afford a tombstone.
Right.
So that's exactly right. There are people in those plots that just, there's no tombstone.
There's just no,
Yeah.
no monument, yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah, I
there's
think
a,
at some point, it would be nice to get those marked. Just as,
one of the biggest surprises we had in Southport is we found that just outside what we thought was the burying ground, we found dozens of burials of slaves. They weren't allowed in the 1700s and the 1800s in the main burial, so they were buried on the periphery. So we actually had to buy private property to accommodate those graves, but we were able to identify them, and it's important to identify them.
absolutely.
absolutely.
Okay. Well, he needs a motion, guys.
Really quick, I am somewhat troubled by the chain of how we ended up with this. And specifically, in the past, particularly as it relates to the cemetery committee, we have followed their lead, and this is the opposite of that. We are leading their follow, and so that does trouble me. I feel like that they are the experts on this. They live this and study it, and we're just seeing it on paper.
Sure.
So that's one concern. And the other concern, I've had countless conversations with that man sitting in the back, Mark Carden. I know you've done a slew of research on
Yes,
that
sir.
section. And just, I don't know if y'all have spoken with him. He is interested in finding plots near his wife's family. And I know you have discussed this issue at tremendous length with the Edwin Fish, the chairman of the cemetery committee. Does this, what is being proposed, jibe with the conversations that you've had with the committee, Mark?
Thank you. I just want to share with you that that man right there is a gem, not a diamond in the rough, a gem. And y'all do him and his staff arrange something for that. And no, I'm not trying to switch him up, just what my needs are. But yes, I have been retired now going on a year and a half from Mountain Properties. I've been proud to serve in the community for 38 years, 4 months. Only job I ever known. My wife's granddaddy had Kelly's Taxi. Y'all may remember the little school bus down here right next to the bus garage. Hubert Cohen, y'all remember Hubert. He cut my hair when I was 4 years old. And I know I grew up across that side street there and married his, neighboring business owner granddaughter. Robert Kelly died in the early mid-80s, and I could not find a record. Very embarrassing, folks, whenever you have to make an appeal for your wife's mother's remains to be able to bury her and interre her on the chest of the very vault of her dad. Bob's there, Hazel's there, Danny's there, Virgil's there, Carolyn's to be there, Lester Mashman, Sue Mashman's to be there. I won't go on, my wife's own sister's there. There's a corner adjacent area that Matt and Mr. Fish have stated that if I paid for the GPR, that he'd sell me those lots at town rate. I'm going to appeal to you. We're going to jump the gun and sidebar this, but I want to change custody like we should. And I'm going to go ahead and make that appeal to you live.
Absolutely.
I've got a man that I understand with the Rural Development Committees in Bethel. His name is Dr. Blair Formay. Matt and I talked about that. That's not Neil Formay. We won't sing Chestnut Fruit to buy over fire. But anyway, he's been printed. He is very astute in what he does, and he publishes.
He's a professor at Western Carolina.
He's willing to come to the town on the rural development the 2nd or 3rd of June at my expense and have a GPO.
For those 2 lots. Yes, sir.
And so, Matt, how would, if we enact this tonight, and it's my opinion we should not, but just if we were to enact this tonight, how would that affect?
It would not preclude what he has already been working on.
Okay.
This is for future. I don't want to negate anything that what he's been doing. He's been doing all sorts of fantastic research. But it has taken us a year and a half, Mark.
Seriously, I found, maybe you should, and I'm just going to say this openly, brother, Mr. Gravis chastised me like I was a whip in your meeting. Said he didn't want to hear my research, didn't want to hear my struggle. He commented there that it didn't matter to me, I need to man up, grow up, and go home and buy down there on the lower end of Shepherd's Creek. All I'm trying to do is, my wife and be buried near her people, right there adjacent. But having said that, I found a man that is from 1858, buried his first wife. His name is Joseph Brindle there at the Round Top. I'm not Gettysburg, I'm just joking right now. But there's 7 generations of Brindles, 5 of which are interred up there. And so there was as few as 3 and as many as 5 potential vacancies up there. That's what intrigued my attention. I don't have to be buried there. All this has been about my mission, getting those connects from people. But yes, I've called people and researched names, and only one time did I find from a lady whose grandparents was buried in 1949 up there, and they were from Troutville, Virginia, and I found them near one of the airports up there where the shooting was near Virginia Tech. And I don't mean to run a wreck here, but I'm getting back full circle. I found in Matt's record, it's not Matt's fault, it's not his legacy's fault, it's not his future attendance's fault, it's everywhere that records are skewed. But the point is that I found this lady and this granddaughter of her own grandparents, never been down here. They boarded Nancy's granddaddy, Rob Kelly. And he had it on a little 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Now, that's not records. That's an attempt at a map. But thank God he had that. On the back of her car, she had Rob Kelly, Tom, Walpole, Trent, and I just missed that story. So that's, I'm about to cry, y'all can tell, family. And so I mowed the yard with the parents of Freddie Hall. I mowed the yard of the great granddaughter there to Colonel Thomas. I was old school waiting for me. Here, John and I went to high school and played pool, Western campus there together. I go back. I just want to be buried on my life. That's all I'm after here, so I'm gonna shut up.
I concur with John, and I'm a stickler for chain of command. I don't
Absolutely.
think this goes through the
I
chain
agree.
of command, so I think we need to send it to the cemetery.
I agree.
And I would like to see something in writing for this gentleman before we
Absolutely.
do this.
Absolutely. We can do that. Yep. And we could probably just call a special meeting for the cemetery committee. Their next meeting is in July. So to keep this from bearing any further than it needs to go
I mean,
any
I
longer.
love this.
Okay.
And the work that was put into arriving at this point is obvious. And so I just would, given the sensitivity of that cemetery, and I want to make sure that all points are considered. So I'm not questioning the work at all. I
Yes, sir.
just feel like we should follow their lead and vice versa.
Bring
And I
a
think-
solid recommendation from the committee to here.
I think this is something that happened like 6 years ago, and I don't want to make any steps backwards.
And there are still wounds.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so
Thank you, Matt.
we'll call a special meeting.
And again, I will not vote for anything until this gentleman has something in writing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That may, in having conversations with the cemetery committee, that in writing may end up having to come from you all.
Okay, that's fine.
So we can,
Just so you know,
and
I
we're,
want them to know.
absolutely. Yeah, and we're for him too. We just, I wrote down here just a little while ago, it does not automatically negate or preclude anything that he's been doing.
That will,
it
that will probably
gives-
come from us whenever we make
Yeah,
a motion.
it gives you guys a yardstick to measure these against in the future.
And,
So-
and Mark, have you, I know you and I have talked about you contracting with that guy who can do the LiDAR. Are you definitely moving forward with that? And if so-
Recording this AM after having walked in, Matt's office, shaking hands, leaving with his promise that Matt said, that his expertise was credible enough.
Gotcha.
So I called Mr. Cornet and I haven't heard back from him, but I did leave him an email.
Well, do keep us up to speed on the results of that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
All right. Thank you guys.
thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for looking at it.
Thanks,
And
Matt.
I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move on to communication from the staff. Rob, do you have anything for us tonight?
No, sir.
Man, you are about ready to retire. aren't you?
I've had plenty to say tonight.
Huh?
I've had plenty to say tonight.
All right. Down 30, you have anything?
No, sir.
Julia?
No, sir.
I really don't.
I said my piece.
Trying to stay
I just
alive.
have, again, just one thing. I'll bring it next meeting as a letter for supporting the Western North Carolina Rail appropriations. I'll bring that to the next meeting.
Okay.
For us to review. Go one way, we're trying to get as many municipalities and towns to support the rail. I know it won't come to Waynesville, but it will definitely impact us.
Okay. All right, someone, I need to entertain a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to adjourn.
Got a motion for Anthony,
Second.
second, John, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like.
Okay, just remind me, where am I supposed, I'm supposed to be somewhere Thursday at 2:00. Is that my week?
I'm sorry.
That's my week.
Oh,
Right
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Scott, we'll start here and then we'll move to
Okay.
the rest.
So
Okay.
yeah, don't forget our, meeting Tuesday.
Yeah, please
I mean,
come to the
Thursday.
meeting Thursday.
Okay, good deal. And
At
that's all
2
my,
o'clock.
Yeah, but
that's my only commitment.
what
If I'm still here.
interesting is that just
This is a good part.
how